Hello everybody, welcome back to Dispatch Tea and Therapy. It's Monday, which means it's Merry Moon Day, and I have been sitting on some things that I am very ready to say out loud. The first thing is that nobody tells you this about healing. At some point, the work you did in the dark starts showing up in the light. And lately, I feel like I'm standing in a very bright room. And of course, bright outdoors. So much gratitude. So let's go. The first thing I want to mention is that I have a published peer-reviewed article. It was published in my National Honor Society's e-zine. It's called Not Competent Yet, Humbly Learning Always. It's the case for cultural humility and peer support. This is the Omega Zeta Digest, Volume 2. I have an actual APA citation with my name on it, published, peer-reviewed, in print. The article itself is about cultural humility and peer support and why competence is, or rather competence seen as an endpoint, is a problem. When practitioners, especially, but anybody, believe that they have achieved cultural competence, research shows they actually become less open, they make more assumptions, and clients feel less understood. Humility says you are never done learning. You approach every person as the expert on their own experience. And for peer support specialists, where shared experience can create the illusion of shared understanding, that distinction it's everything. The full text is in the blog if you want to check it out. And because I am constitutionally, apparently, incapable of just doing one thing at a time, I have a second article in peer review. It is called Wired for Crisis, Polyvagal Perspectives on Mindfulness Resistance in Emergency Communication Professionals Entering Graduate Counseling Training. It's long and that may be trimmed, but what it basically means is when 911 dispatchers, people whose nervous systems have been conditioned to treat stillness as a threat, as something dangerous, walking into a counseling program and being asked to practice mindfulness, the body says no. And that's not resistance. That's physiology. That's polyvagal theory, explaining why. So this article argues that what looks like resistance to mindfulness is an adaptive response. And counselor educators need to understand that in order to serve this population. I wrote it because I lived it. My nervous system said absolutely not in my first several mindfulness exercises, but now I have a language for why, and as with other things, there's more on that in the blog. There's more though, because when you find alignment in a true calling, things just keep happening. I mean, they don't happen on their own, let's face it, but they still do keep happening. So the next thing is CSI days. Now, Chi Sigma Iota, again, that's the International Honor Society for Counselors. They have an international virtual conference, and they asked for a call for submissions, and I have already completed one that I did in April that was on 911 and the first framework. If you read the first blog that I did coming back from last week, I went into the research a little bit about what I'm doing. I did my first conference presentation in April at again, it was virtual poster presentation for Gainesville, Florida, at their 7th annual networking and something else conference. I've got it in the blog. But the most recent one I'm working on now that I got accepted to as my second virtual poster presentation is titled currently Peer Support as a Systems Level Bridge, Cultivating Belonging Across Legal, Crisis, and Clinical Settings. And that's going to be taking place sometime between October 19th and the 23rd. So I built this framework, I built this research idea, and I built the things that made this possible, and that is, again, that's what alignment looks like. Now I get to present that and see what people think about that. To any of my 911 people who are watching, and I know that there are some of you, what I'm trying to do is build evidence that says what happens to people in that room has a name, can be measured, fireworks, and matters enough to study seriously. Where I come from is informing where I'm going. The research starts in full this fall. So if you're a current or former 911 telecommunicator, 911 professional, I may be coming to you soon to ask you to participate in the research as someone whose experience becomes evidence now. Hopefully you'll say yes when that time comes. So that is Merry Moon Day for this week. Several things, all of them mine, all of them real, all of them things for me to be grateful for, to celebrate. Another thing, as you can still hear residual fireworks going off, I'm so grateful that I don't work 911 on the 4th of July. So all of you who worked this past weekend on the 4th of July, I hope it was as gentle as it's possible to be. So before I go, I do want to ask you something. What is bringing you joy right now? Not the big things, the small things, the little glimmers of joy, the cup of tea before your shift, the dog that meets you at the door, the moment of quiet before the call starts. Hold on to those moments. Name them because they matter. If this episode resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps more people find this channel, and more people finding this channel means more 911 workers knowing they are not alone. As always, the blog has more full text of the published articles, the conference flyer, a deeper dive into some of the things I mentioned today. That is linked in the description and the bio, dispatchtandtherapy.com. This coming Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday, I will be continuing the story of my exit. I originally said it would be one more episode. Unfortunately, as I look back, it's going to be 2 because I don't want to overload with information. We already talked Wednesday about the oral admonishment, but that was not the end of it. There were 2 more inquiries coming my way, and I'll talk about that. I'll own my part of it. And what I really want to talk about is the behavior that I was about to discover that was happening around me while all this was going on that I didn't know about. And so we'll be talking about that next week. It's the 911 and the surveillance state episode. I hope I'll see you then. In the meantime, I hope you're taking care of yourselves.